All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Whistle Talk. Mike D, the referee, joining you once again here from lovely New Jersey on a nice Sunday morning. Coach Chip joining me from the wonderful world of Georgia. Coach Chip, how you doing, buddy?
I am golden, brother. Hot, sweaty, but golden.
All right. Well, I could say this week was a good week for Coach Chip. He did not have any negative comments about the refereeing going on in his football games this week. Coach, why was that?
We didn't have a game.
Spoken like a true coach right there. Spoken like a true coach.
And I told you last week, though, those guys did a good job officiating the game.
Yeah,
I
it's just the pregame stuff.
Yeah. And it was more or less, that wasn't griping as much as it was just to encourage the officials to know the rules, because it does put us in a bind as coaches, game plan wise. So we don't need to rehash that, but so everybody knows I'm definitely not down on officials. I mean, look who I hang out with.
Why, thank you. Maybe.
Yeah.
So, Coach, before we dive in, where can the friendly folks find you at?
You can find me on Twitter/X. I'm Coach Chip at Chip Siegel. That's SEAGLE. And it's Football Talk with Coach Chip group on Facebook. You don't have to be a coach to join. Just come on over there, and you may want to read. A lot of officials listen to this podcast, I know. You may want to go over there and see what us coaches are saying. And there's been some good stuff going on there lately as we're getting the season rolling all across the fruited plain. And then, of course, you can find me on YouTube at Football Talk with Coach Chip, and then the podcast, Football Talk with Coach Chip, the podcast. That's the name of it.
Yep,
and I just dropped one this morning with a coach from Upper Missouri. He coaches at Putnam County High School, and they've got one of the coolest nicknames in the country.
What do you got?
You got to listen to the podcast.
That's called the teaser there, ladies and gentlemen. Good job.
And I intentionally didn't mention it in the description or anything. And as a matter of fact, right before I said, tell us about your nickname, Coach Hughes, and boop, I went to a commercial break.
Ooh, look at you. Well, speaking of commercials, I got to drop my little spot here. So this episode, once again, ladies and gents, is brought to you by refshop.us. Refshop US is your one-stop shopping for our officiating equipment and uniforms. Looking for your first game coming up, you're a seasoned official like myself, we're getting ready for the season, or your season may have just started and you've pulled everything out and you're like, oh boy, that's I need to get a new one of that. Well, go to refshop.us. They've got headsets, they've got all your pants, whistles, flags, which we like to keep tucked nice and deep, writing study guide, so everything is there for you. Go to refshop.us and use code TALK26 at checkout for an extra 10% off of your entire purchase. All right, so now we got all of our fun stuff out of the way. Let's dive into rule number 9 today, Coach. Rule 9, we are going to dive into, well, I got some good stuff here with Rule 9, and also people were asking about, can we get some signals? So we're going to dive into the signals that go along with Rule number 9. So here you go. I shared my screen right there. Rule 9, conduct of players and others. And we're going to talk about a couple major things. You're going to see a lot of 15-yard penalties involved with what we're talking about today. And we're also going to talk about another point of emphasis, the helping the runner, which was a point of emphasis, I think, in 2023. And now it's a point of emphasis again because, well, the NFL sees nothing wrong with the Eagles tush push or whatever they're calling it. And the NFHS does. So we got to make sure that it is a point of emphasis because we know people like Coach Chip, well, when they see something on TV, they're like, ooh, I should do that. And this one is, ooh, you should not do that. So
nobody should do it.
Nope.
My attitude about the tush push in the NFL, I don't care. Just like I don't care if they do steroids. They're grown men. They can do what they want to do.
Yeah. Well,
but
I don't like the steroid aspect of it.
Children shouldn't do steroids, and children shouldn't be doing the tush push.
100%. So, with that being said, Coach Chip, helping the runner 9-1, what we got?
An offensive player shall not push, pull, or lift the runner to assist his forward progress. Must be absolutely blatant, pulling runner forward, lifting, and carrying. Pushing the pile is fine. This is a point of emphasis. Penalty, helping the runner. It's S44, it's a 5-yard penalty. And, you know, when you say, well, what's the use? That's what you see the scrums now, the helping the runner. But it's been something as an offensive line guy that over the years, we've always said run to the ball, run to the ball, run to the ball. I call it offensive pursuit. But you run to the ball for two reasons. One, you can push the pile. And two, you're there in case that in that pile they rip the ball loose. You don't want your guy being the only good guy there surrounded by bad guys. So go and push the pile. But don't push the running back. Go in there and lay your hands on one of your guys and push your fellow lineman, or go in there and hit one of their guys who's hitting your guy.
Yep.
And
our signal for that is going to be two hands with kind of like a shoving motion forward down at the hips. It's tough to see on the books image there, but it's basically you're pushing. And it's like you said, it's a 5-yard penalty. Now, what we are seeing more of these days is in that pile, some of the offensive linemen particularly are kind of like getting turned around a little bit, and then they're seeing that their running back is there, and they're pulling them forward. We're not – the tush push, the coaches seem to understand that that's not allowed, but – and when it does happen, I mean, then I will blame the coaching. But it's when there's that scrum and you see, like, when it's 4 or 5 yards downfield, and then all of a sudden an offensive lineman grabs his guy and pulls him forward to release him from that scrum. We're seeing a little bit more and more of that in the last couple of years. So that's the one that we really got to keep an eye out for.
Well, it's because, like you said, coaches see things on TV and try it. The kids see things on TV and try it.
Yes, 100%.
It's the reason we have the knee pad problem now, because the college, I firmly lay that at the colleges. The colleges
1,000%.
let them do it, and now the kids want to do what they see on Saturday.
100%. And just working I just finished up with our last scrimmages. I actually did 4 varsity scrimmages this week, and week 0 for us. I don't know why I don't call it week 1 anymore. We're in week 0, even though it's the first week. Starts this week. So I've got a game Thursday night, and so this week and weekend starts our New Jersey regular season schedule. So we're in full thick of it now. And one thing we did do is before the games, before the scrimmages, is we pulled both teams together and we went over the points of emphasis. We went over the different rules and things like that. And we talked about, still saw prismed shields out there, and Coach, that's not okay. It's a scrimmage today. Today is technically a practice, so what you do on a practice, I don't really have a problem with. But come Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week, can't have it. It's got to come off, or you're going to have to go out. And the same thing with the knee pads. I saw the kids rolling them up, the bike shorts, like we talked about. Daniel always jokes around about his Oklahoma kicker that had the true bike shorts this past year. It's not okay. So we got to make sure that we get that stuff out.
Oh, real quick. I listened to a podcast either yesterday on the way home or the day before on the way down there. And it's a guy who used to coach here in Georgia, and he's an administrator now, and he has a good little podcast. And he had the executive director of the Georgia High School Association on.
Okay.
And he explained why Georgia this year has really made a point of emphasis of the knee pad thing. And, I mean, sending out memos every Friday to the coaches, the schools, the officials. Last year, Mike, when Georgia teams get on ESPN all the time.
Yes.
And last year, in one of those early season Georgia games, somebody from the Federation home office in Indianapolis was watching it. And those guys were running around with their knee pads pulled up. Ain't nobody thrown a flag on it yet. Well, they took the Georgia High School Association, removed them from the National Rules Committee.
Really?
They said, we can't have somebody on the Rules Committee who's not enforcing the rules. And Georgia had to jump through hoops. The new executive director, Dr. Tim Scott, I think it's Tim, it's Dr. Scott anyway. They had to jump through hoops and say, here's what we're going to do, kind of show them this is what we're going to do. And of course, last night you had number one Buford. They won the national championship last year. They're ranked number one by ESPN this year, playing Gainesville. And I looked for it, and they had those knee pads down, dude.
I had it on last night myself too, so I definitely watched that.
But that's the reason why, if you're in Georgia and you wonder why do they care so much, because the National Federation is beating them with a stick about it. You know?
And it's needed. I mean, we're still seeing it here in New Jersey, and we've talked about it with the coaches and talked about it with everybody. It still happens because, again, what do they see? So,
yeah.
All right, so moving on now. Legal blocking techniques. Closed or cupped hands. This is 2-3, so we're talking about some definitions again because we're going to lead into what the violations may be. So closed or cupped hands. Hands must be closed or cupped with palms not facing the opponent. Forearms extended no more than 45 degrees. Again, these are stuff that we got to see this. So if it's a closed hand or a cupped hand. Open hand. Hand shall be in advance of the elbow, inside the framework of the body, at or below the shoulders. That's for holding. Inside the frame of the, inside the frame of the opponent's body, at or below the shoulders, unless the opponent turns, and the palms must be open when facing towards the opponent. You cannot swing, throw, or flip an elbow or forearm to strike the opponent. So the old forearm shiver that we used to see, okay, Coach Chip's doing it right now. A lot of wing tees. That was an old school wing tee with the flipper up high and the wing up high here. But throwing that and shoving that, it's technically a violation. So you do still see it with linebackers per se. When a down block is coming and a tackle's coming down, they're kind of giving them a little shiver right there. But that's more so, that's going to be acceptable. All right,
but
Coach.
Now this is still legal.
Yes.
To hit, you just can't do that.
Yeah.
Correct.
You can't have the full follow through up towards, and especially towards the chin and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
All right, you want to take what the defensive players can do?
All right, nothing. Just stand there and get blocked.
Offensive loves that.
A defensive player may also use unlocked hands, hand or arm to ward off an opponent. Any player during a loose ball may push, pull, or ward off an opponent in an actual attempt to get a loose ball, provided such contact is not pass interference, a personal foul, or illegal use of hands. I mean, it literally becomes a melee when there's a loose ball.
Correct. When you see that beanbag come out because the football has been fumbled, it's Wild Wild West in essence. But as long as it's not something that is going to be of the 15-yard variety where you're potentially looking to injure somebody or something like that, you can push, you can pull, you can force, but you got to be making an attempt towards the ball. All right, so we have illegal use of the hands and holding. This is 921, 922. An offensive player, except the runner, shall not use a blocking technique not permissible by Rule 232, 233. Illegal use of the hands, which is a signal 42. We're going to be here. 10-yard foul. Grasp or encircle a teammate to form an interlocking block. Okay? 10-yard foul, S44. Use hands, arms, or legs to hook, lock, clamp, grasp, encircle an opponent. We got our holding, S42, 10 yards, and we'll talk about the enforcement spots a little bit later. And the runner may not grasp a teammate. Illegal use of the hands, S42, 10 yards. You don't see this one as much, but Coach, I know you can talk about it with especially teams that are running power and counter. A lot of the running backs are taught to get into that hip of that puller, that second puller, to have them be the lead blocker through. We used to see people like grabbing onto the back of that tackle or that H-back's jersey to try to get themselves through. Now you're just seeing the kind of the palm, and they're kind of just guiding their way through until they can explode on through that hole. But yeah, we used to see that of them grabbing a teammate.
Yeah, we call it hog, hand on guard.
There you go.
And we put a towel hanging out of the guard's the back of his pants, and that back's got to bring that towel back.
There you go.
Because we want him getting that close to it. Real quick, one of my concussions in college was because of the interlocked blocking.
Used to see it a lot on special teams, on kick returns and stuff.
Yeah. We did it a lot in college. They'd come together, and then they'd go kick. I was the guy they kicked, and they did two things illegal that would be illegal now. They timed it up where both of them gave me they were interlocked and they did that.
A double forearm shiver?
Yeah. We had a big steep hill on the sideline on our big long practice field at Troy. When the next thing I realized, I was laying about 10 feet up that hill.
Ooh.
I mean, they told me, they said, because I was running down the sideline and they hit me, and I don't remember flying through the air, but they said it was kind of funny.
That's nice of them.
Yeah.
All right, Coach. Illegal use of hands holding here.
A defensive player shall not use a technique not permissible by Rule 232 and 235. A defensive player shall not use his hands to add momentum to the charge of a teammate on the line of scrimmage, like pushing him or throwing him. A defensive player shall not contact an eligible receiver who is no longer a potential blocker. The penalty is illegal use of the hands, and it's a 10-yard penalty. A defensive player shall not use his hands or arms to hook, lock, clamp, grasp, encircle, or hold an opponent other than the runner. Penalty, holding, 10 yards. All right, you defensive guys, that means you can't be tackling my pulling guards.
Yes. Also, I want to jump back up to the contact and eligible receiver who is no longer a potential blocker. Again, this one is the old school mentality, and especially with your shallow crosses, with your crossing patterns going in front of linebackers or right behind the linebackers. If that receiver is not coming to block you, or they're not a potential blocker, you cannot just lay them out. So we got to make sure that we understand that. If they look like they're going to block you, yeah, again, there's the word potential blocker. But we can't just contact an eligible receiver who is no longer a potential blocker. And there's no 5-yard rule here with the NFHS. None of that stuff is in it. It's, are they going to be a potential blocker or not? Then you got to lay off them. You got to let them run their route.
We used to, that's how we used to teach them to defend our linebackers to defend the shallow cross.
Yeah.
We told them
Decleat the tight end.
You knock his pecker in his watch pocket.
Yep. And that's why they teach the tight end to use me, the umpire, as their screener so that they don't get decleated. No. Thanks, guys. Us umpires love it. All right. Illegal blocking, 931. Blocking by a player, either on the offense or defense, is illegal when there is kick-catching interference, forward pass interference, or a personal foul. Illegal blocking on kick plays now. So we're moving on to the kick game. 933, 934, 937. Coach Chip, take it away, sir.
A receiver who is given a fair catch signal shall not block until kick ends. Penalty, blocking after signal. Wow, I didn't realize it was a 15-yarder. Okay. Kicker or place kick holder on a free kick shall not be blocked until advance 5 yards beyond the free kick line or kick has touched ground or any player. So if the punter just hangs out behind the line of scrimmage or the kicker, you can't. Okay.
Unless they're now, if that return brings it all the way back and they're a potential tackler, yeah, go for it.
Yep. So lay off those soccer guys that we just begged to come out there and be our kicker and punter.
Bingo.
No member of the kick team on a free kick shall initiate contact to an opponent until the kick has traveled 10 yards or K is eligible to recover the kick or R initiates block in that expanded 10-yard neutral zone.
Correct.
It is an illegal block and it's a 10-yard penalty.
And now I also want to go back to one of our points of emphasis again this year that the NFHS kind of cleared up the editorial with. They're looking at the defenseless receiver too. So with those onside kicks, that receiver is going to be a defenseless receiver if their eyes are up.
Correct.
So they want to see that tackling motion or that stuff, not just blowing them up. So,
but a lot of return teams now are, when their hands team is out there, they want that front line to block the kickoff team.
Mm-hmm.
So if they come to you in the neutral zone to block you, you can defend yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That was said with a question mark. I wasn't being a know-it-all. Okay.
No, you're 100% correct. It depends upon the school, and it depends upon how much they trust their hands team. I know with me, with the youth level, my hands team, my frontline guys were all people that could catch the ball, and I just told them get on it. Where at the upper levels, the good high school teams, you're going to see that block so that they free up their good hands people in the second line to get that recovery.
Do you know I started my hands team as my kickoff return team all the time now?
Well, I could definitely see that, but do you have offensive linemen in the front row?
No.
And that's where a lot of high schools are still doing that, having the big guys up in the front row.
And they're losing every time they practice kickoff return and kickoff. They're losing valuable time. They could be working on something else with the offensive lineman.
100%. All right, blocking below the waist, 932-272. Blocking below the waist is permitted in the free blocking zone, provided all players involved are on the line of scrimmage and in the free blocking zone at the snap. Second part is the contact is in the free blocking zone, and the third part is the block is immediate initial action at the snap. A player shall not block below the waist except in the free blocking zone when it meets all the requirements, which you just talked about, and to tackle a runner or player pretending to be the runner. So you're allowed to tackle somebody low or potential runner. Say it's an option team and the quarterback gives it and they're continuing out. You think they got the ball, you could tackle them. But blocking below the waist is a 15-yard penalty. And you see the two hands coming to basically the knees for the signal 40. We're seeing less and less of this on the offensive side these days. I mean, it's still out there, and it is a 15-yarder. But the one that I want to really put out there, and for the short wings and for umpires like myself, Coach mentioned it before, it's the pullers. Because the defensive ends or the defensive players are being taught to squeeze down on the kick-out block and make a pile. Well, some of the players are cutting that kick-out block, and that is a block below the waist, and that is a 15-yard penalty. So just be mindful of that. You could squeeze down and try to create a pile on the inside, depending on if you're wrong shouldering it, if you're just squeezing it down, however you're being taught, but you cannot cut that puller.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this a lot, but I know it's not always the same audience. So
Yes.
And the other thing too that we used to be really good at, because I was good at it when I played, was set them up by giving them high hat, high hands, and then they start running up the field, and then we cut their butts. You can't do that anymore. And but it has to be at the snap. Something we have done before, where since this rule's gone into effect, on our quick game is come out crabbing.
Okay.
You know, bear crawling,
Yep.
and trying to get our helmet between their legs. Because all you're trying to do in a quick game is just get the defense's hands down.
Correct.
Well, if you put your helmet between their legs, their hands are going down.
Automatically.
It's a natural reaction, and so we've done that. But I guess since 20, we don't even have quick game protection anymore. We block a run play. And usually the best one to block is zone, because you got every man on the line is going to get hit.
Yeah, and taking some type of lateral step.
Yeah, but it's just, and it's good. I mean, I did it for years. I taught it for years, and but it's good because it is protecting the kids. But the thing I don't like is what you just said. So many officials, now it's better because they're aware of it. But for the longest time, everybody thought that rule was to protect the defense. That rule is to protect everybody.
Yeah.
And so protect my offensive linemen, you know, because we're gap scheme. I always have been gap scheme. And you need to, you know, they're cutting kids who aren't the best athletes in the world. That's why they're wearing a number between 50 and 79.
Hey, we're athletes too, us linemen.
Blocking is a skill, right?
Yes, sir. All right, Coach. Blocking in the back, not a skill. What do you got?
All right, blocking in the back is permitted in the free blocking zone, provided done by offensive linemen who are on the line of scrimmage and in the free blocking zone at the snap. It's done against defensive players who are in the free blocking zone at snap. Contact is in the free blocking zone. A player shall not block an opponent in the back except in free blocking zone when block meets requirements above that I just read, when using hands or arms to contact an opponent and warding off a blocker or reaching a runner, when attempting to catch or recover a loose ball, which he may legally touch or possess. We just talked about that. It's the melee. And to tackle a runner or player pretending to be a runner. Penalty, blocking in the back, 10-yard penalty.
All right, I want to go back to 217, Rule 217 with the free blocking zone, just to give the definition of what the free blocking zone is again, because I hear it all the time by defensive linemen, even sometimes middle linebackers. Oh, you got blocked in the back. And I'm like, well, it's okay where that occurred. So the free blocking zone is a rectangular area extending laterally 4 yards either side of the spot of the snap. So from the ball, so we got basically an 8-yard wide box that includes the center being right at the ball, and 3 yards behind each line of scrimmage. A player is in the free blocking zone when any part of their body is in the zone at the snap. So for your linebackers that are snugged up nice and tight within 3 yards, if you get blocked in the back, that's in the free blocking zone. And again, we're looking at this. We're not going to sit there with the tape measure and know, all right, that was at 3.5 yards. But just understand, in that tight area, if you get a down block coming, a good counter team, and you step one way on the counter and you start filling and then you come back and they get you in the back, it's probably going to be a legal block at that point in time.
Basically, do you pretty much just, because, 4 and 4, just tackle to tackle?
Yeah, and what we'll do, and this is on me as the umpire, is looking at the width. If you're in a true nasty old Texas Tech style splits where you're like 4 yards from the center to the guard, well, that's going to be one thing. But if you're in the traditional formation,
2 or 3
we're
feet.
even going to give the tight end most of the time being in the free blocking zone.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're not going to nitpick with that, but yeah, we're going to go basically tackle to tackle, and if the tight end's in a normal alignment and it's normal splits, and again, I've seen more and more teams going with much tighter splits these days than the super wide splits.
Yep.
So we're going to give the tight end the benefit of the doubt with that one too. All right, 936. Chop blocks and clipping. And you don't hear these terms often anymore, but the chop block one is a combination block by 2 or more teammates where one block is below the waist and one is above the waist. It doesn't matter what order, with or without delay. So it doesn't matter if it's immediate at the snap. You got one high, one low. We got a chop block. And you see this a lot. Excuse me. You see this a lot with your option teams. Where they're trying to kind of slip one person, but they're making contact as they're releasing him, and that backside partner is coming low. So if I post high and my partner comes and cuts, even though they cut immediate and at the snap, my post makes it a chop block. But if I'm trying to avoid the contact, and learn this from Navy of stepping through and
Yes.
kind of dropping my shoulder, if I'm looking to avoid contact, I'm not going to throw that one, because I'm not initiating the contact. If the defensive lineman initiates on me in a scenario like that, we're probably going to let it go and just talk with everybody about it. Now, our clip, 251, is a block where the initial contact is below the waist and from behind.
You don't see that much anymore.
No, you do not. And where we used to see this more often, it was a team that would have a tight end and a slot, and that wing back, and that wing back would kind of crack down and clip there. But a player shall not chop block or clip. Both of these are going to be 15-yard penalties. Our chop block is S41, which is hands coming down to the hip in kind of like a chopping motion. 15-yard penalty. And our clipping is one hand going behind the knee to signify for the clipping signal.
And I'll tell the story again, and I've told it, I think, every year when we cover this one that I've been with you. Years ago, we had a kid that he was the backside tackle on a power, and his job was the post hinge or gap hinge, whatever you call it, where you're playing, where he steps down in the B gap to cut the B gap off, and if nothing comes, he opens up to keep something from running around the backside edge. And our center blocked back, and he blocked back low. He was a little bitty guy, and every block he did was low. He blocked back, and he hit the guy below the waist. Well, when he hit the guy below the waist, the guy got knocked back toward our tackle and hit our tackle in the back, and my tackle reached out and put his hand on him, and they called that a high-low block. All I'm saying is watch the whole thing, because I think I even showed you that clip about 3 years ago.
Yep.
Watch the whole play, guys. And again, not that there has to be intent, because it can be dangerous even if it's an accident.
Correct.
But I'm just saying, be sure to watch the whole thing. Because I'm going like, how is it a high-low? My guy's gap hinging. I couldn't see it. It was on the far side for me. You can't see the other side. But in my head, I'm saying, but so when I got back and watched the film, I went like, that wasn't a high-low. And but they were trying to protect the kids. I understand that. I didn't, go crazy. In my head, I'm going like, how can I get a high-low on a gap hinge? But so be careful to see the whole play. And that's all I'm saying.
And one thing I do want to talk about, and you're saying with intent or not intent, when you get that muddy track and you get that wet field, and you got two teams that are looking to do a double team, and all of a sudden one kid's foot slips out from under him, and now it goes low, even though it's not with the intent, I still got to call that because it's the safety foul.
Yeah, it's still dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that one would be a high-low, still a chop block. And again, that one's going to be a talking to. And explain to them, I saw, because I'll hear the kid saying, oh, well, I slipped. Yes, you did, but you still hit somebody else low when their initial contact was being up high. I said, so we got to watch that. Now, if it's one-on-one and they're blocking and then they slip and they fall and go low, I'm not going to call that as for the illegal cut block, the blocking below the waist on that one because they slipped. But now when it's the high-low scenario, I do have to call that one.
Yeah, and also, too, a double cut is not a chop block.
No.
If they are teaching to fire off low on the quick passing game, and you got an A-gap defender and the guard and the center both fire off low at the same time, that's not a chop.
It's got to be high-low.
Yeah.
All right, Coach. Illegal personal contact, fighting, 9-4.
No player or non-player shall fight. That tickles the crap out of my wife. She said, they're out there trying to kill each other the whole game, and they're going to say something about that. She's got a point.
Yeah.
So no player or non-player shall fight. No player or non-player shall intentionally contact a game official. Intentionally. No player or non-player shall strike opponent with fist, locked hands, forearm, elbow, nor kick, nor knee him. I'm thinking WWE right now. Yeah. No substitutes shall enter the field during a fight. And that, okay, hang on, let me finish reading. The penalty for fighting is 15 yards and disqualification. Penalty for intentionally contacting an official is 15 yards and a DQ. Coaches, we have to be careful. We can't expect the referees to know what I'm about to say. Let's say it's third down. And it's 3rd and 5, and we gain 2 yards. So now it's 4th and 3. And we call for punt team. Meanwhile, a fight just broke out, or two guys are throwing hands, whatever you want to call it. And I've seen, we actually, in Alabama, they had some ejections overturned.
Yeah.
Because they proved on film, they weren't running out to the fight, and they were, the coaches called for, and so when that happened, we had a big thing with our coaches and said, hey, don't just call punt team when it gets 4th down. Let's wait and make sure everything's cool, because we don't want to send 8 guys out there and get 8 guys ejected for doing what we told them to do, and they're not even running to a fight. They're running onto the field. So, and notice the rule reads, no substitutes. So by rule, those 6, 7, 8 guys running onto the field, they can be ejected.
Yeah.
So coaches, don't expect the officials to know this. They're just seeing a bunch of kids run on the field.
And unfortunately, with that, and you said it, when kids run out onto the field thinking they're going out for a punt, and all of a sudden they see their teammate in some type of fracas, what do the kids tend to do?
Well, they're either going to help or break it up. Either way,
Correct.
they're running to it.
Correct. So that's where it gets dicey. All right, so the fighting and the contact, we got two signals for that. So we got our personal foul, where we're going to kind of chop on our own forearm here. So it's personal foul. There's no signal for fighting or anything like that, but they do have the disqualification, the old heave-ho, the thumbs up, see you later. So those are our signals for the 15-yarders. All right, illegal personal contact, our personal fouls. This is Rule 9-4. Swinging your foot, shin, or knee into an opponent, extending knee to meet a blocker, charging into or throwing an opponent into the ground after out of play or the ball is dead, piling on any player lying on the ground, positioning on shoulders or body of a teammate or opponent to gain advantage, throwing a helmet to trip an opponent.
Oh my God.
Initiating contact with an opponent whose helmet has come off completely. These are all personal fouls. Signal 38, chop onto the forearm, and that is a 15-yard foul.
It's also a penalty if you keep playing after your helmet comes off.
Correct.
Go back. The swinging foot, shin, knee into opponent, that's the leg whip, right?
Yes. But we'll also see it, and this one I don't like, getting off of a pile.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
But I used to use the leg whip.
shh. Yeah, I did too. My shins don't like me today.
You got to do it with the back of your leg.
You try.
Yeah.
Sometimes you
That's just-
catch them with the front of their leg.
But buddy, you can catch some. You catch somebody in the midsection, you can knock the wind out of a joker with a well-placed, well-timed leg whip.
It's illegal. Don't do it.
I didn't say do it. I just said I used to do it because it used
Yes.
to not be illegal.
All right, Coach. This one, defenseless player, 943G and 23216.
A player who because of his physical position and focus of concentration is especially vulnerable to injury. When in question, a player is defenseless. Okay, so if in doubt, benefit of doubt goes to the defenseless player.
Correct.
When a receiver attempting to catch a pass who has not had time to become a runner already in the grasp of a tackler, kick or punt returner while attempting to catch or recover a kick, player on the ground or runner who has given himself up. Yeah, you can't do that. As much as, but you can't. A guy's on the ground, you got to let him,
Yep.
Player obviously out of the play, and I got penalized for that when I was in high school, but player who receives a blindside block with forceful contact not initiated with open hand. Okay. A receiver, including the person intercepting the pass, who is forcefully contacted by an opponent that is not incidental contact, initiated with open hands or an attempt to tackle by wrapping arms around the receiver. Yeah, I had a guy one time, we had thrown a pass downfield, and there was a guy on the other team that I had an issue with earlier.
Mm-hmm.
At the corner of my eye, I saw him jogging behind the play. And he had his head on the play downfield. It was a long play. And I just wheeled back around, and I laid him out. And even in 1977, they gave me a 15-yard unnecessary roughness.
Yep.
And I said, what?
And I want to go back to this one with the defenseless player. Signal is S38, which is the personal foul. There is no defenseless player signal, so it's just personal foul on the defense or on the offense, whomever it may be. Yeah.
That'd be a good signal.
Yeah. All right, so face mask. This one I do want to talk about because the NFHS still has a 5-yard face mask penalty. Let me repeat that. The Federation still does have a 5 and a 15-yard face mask penalty. So grasping an opponent's face mask or any helmet opening, chin strap, or even mouth guard is considered a face mask. Grasp anything and turn twist or pull is going to be of the 15-yard variety. So you get a personal foul, face mask, hand comes in front. So it's signal 38 and signal 45. Incidentally, grasping that opening, face mask, whatever it may be, is a 5-yard penalty. So if you grab it and you kind of let it go where there's no twisting, okay, that's the 5-yard one. Grasp with a twist, holding on to it, all those different things, that's going to be the 15-yarder. So I know in many other levels, they do not have the 5-yard variety anymore. The NFHS still does. And I'm not going to lie, I'd rather see them go with the 15-yard and wipe it out to take away that gray area. Because now it's, well, he had it, but he let it go. Well, no, just don't grab the face mask.
I don't know why they don't do it, and there's got to be a reason, because other people had to think about this too. Just go ahead and say anything above the shoulders is a penalty.
Well,
Just anything on a tackler, on a runner, it don't matter. Anything above the neck, above the shoulders, just take it out. We're going to protect kids, protect their heads, protect their little undeveloped brains. You know, anything above the head, just take it out. I mean, above the.
Yep.
And that way, there's no, did he grab it or not? Oh, let me ask you this. Here's the second thing. I think we did this years ago, too, but let's get it out there. The runner can contact a potential tackler. He just can't, like with the stiff arm.
With the stiff arm, he just cannot grasp.
But they can't grab the mask and twist.
Correct.
But they can put their hand on the helmet and push away a potential tackler.
Yep.
I got into it years ago online with some guy. I said, no, man. I said, watch TV. Watch any game. You know, I mean, they're allowed to do that. They just can't twist.
Yeah. All right, another one that is specific to the NFHS, so people that are watching the games on Saturdays and Sundays on ESPN and ABC and all those stations, here we go. Hurdling, 943D, Coach Hurdling.
And this used to be illegal in college ball, too, by the way. An attempt by a player to jump with one or both feet or knees foremost over an opponent who is contacting the ground with no part of his body except one or both feet. Feet or knees foremost. Diving over opponent head first is legal. Opponent has hand, knee, anything on the ground, not hurdling, and it's legal. So if the guy's like on the ground and he's trying to get up and you just jump over him, that's not hurdling.
Yep.
But if he's standing up, yeah, it is a 15-yard penalty. You hardly ever see it. But coaches, teach your kids not to hurdle, because once they get in the air, they're open to all kind of mayhem. But the first college football game I ever went to, they called hurdling.
And what was the signal for it?
I don't remember. I was only like 7 or 8 years old. We went to an Auburn game because Auburn's right next door to where we lived in Phoenix City, Alabama. And it was before the students came back on campus in September. And so you could just walk up and buy a ticket for $5 back then. And it was a non-conference game, you know. And I just remember it called hurdling. And I said, "What's hurdling, Daddy?" And he said, "Jumping over a player." Because the PA announcer said he got a hurdling penalty. Yeah.
So I just saw, and somebody sent me this, I think it was on Instagram, and I'll repost it on my Instagram site. So look for Mike D, the referee, on Instagram. It was from a college game back in the 70s where it was illegal, and the signal was the referee kind of like skipping, like stepping up to show a hurdle. And it was so awkward. So today, it's just personal foul. Chop on the forearm. Personal foul, and you could say hurdling and give the coaches the number and let them know. But the PA announcer only needs to know that it's a personal foul, and with a personal foul, it's going to be a 15-yard penalty. So,
and I shared this with you before, but let me share it again. It's the guy that got called for hurdling. 25 years later, I was coaching his son.
Oh, nice.
Because I remembered it was my first game, and I went to him. I said, "Hey, aren't you?" And he said, "Yes, so-and-so, there's my son." And I told him the story. I said, "I was at that Memphis game when you got called for hurdling."